Business Lunatics, episode 6. You'll notice that I am here in the room by myself, and that is because we are testing YouTube Live today for the first time. And I have YouTube Live on my phone right now. Business Lunatics, episode 6. There it is. You'll notice that I am here in the room by myself. So I lowered the volume because, at least for 15 seconds, it's going to be a very uncomfortable loop of me talking, then it coming through here, then looping back into Zoom. But it's working. YouTube Live is working. So, welcome everybody. If you're joining us for the first time, this is Business Lunatics. This is a podcast where soon there will be 3 other entrepreneurs joining me on the line here. And we're going to be talking about all things business, top to bottom, the good, the bad, the ugly, the in between, and how we are running our businesses on a day-to-day basis, how we deal with things that come up, our philosophies, our mindsets, the challenges we've had. For some of us have been doing this 40 plus years in business, and it's been a lot of fun. So welcome aboard. It's great to have you here. And as soon as everybody else joins us, we are going to continue this live stream. I'm going to put the screen dark for now and await for my guests to show up. But welcome everybody. Welcome, welcome. Hello.
Okay, I think I'm on.
You are. And
Cool.
we're live on YouTube right now. I didn't take any chances. I went live 10 minutes ago. So
That's great.
it is working. I can see us live on YouTube.
Great.
So we know it works. I just threw the link to the YouTube on my LinkedIn and tagged you guys. So
Yeah, I think that that's the way, considering the problems that we ran into last week, I think the best
yeah.
thing to do is just go straight to YouTube. If I understand correctly, it records it directly in to the channel. From there, theoretically, short of the descriptions and titles and stuff like that, it's ready to go.
Yep.
There's
The
not
long
much more
form.
to do.
Yeah, the long form will stay in there, and then what we're going to do
Yeah.
is I'm going to have my editor make like a little 3 or 4 minute highlight reel from that. And so I'm still recording this, the hard file, and that
Yeah, just
still,
I agree.
yeah.
I agree. Yeah,
So I think we got
definitely.
it. The last thing to figure out is the strategy to get to be able to promote the live stream in advance, and YouTube. I have to test that because there's a way I can schedule it in
Yeah,
advance.
you do a premiere, right? You set
Yeah,
it up as a premiere. I agree. Yeah,
yeah.
definitely. No doubt. No doubt about it. No, thank you again, Sean. I mean,
We're live.
you're
We're live.
chasing this down.
It's working. We are live on YouTube successfully, and things are happening. So welcome. Hey, Rochelle.
Cool.
Steve's joining us here in a second. I see he's in the waiting room coming in. So yeah, we had we're one step ahead of last week. We're streaming live somewhere.
Somewhere. It doesn't make a difference where.
So
Too
welcome
funny.
everybody. Good to see you. If I just threw the link on my LinkedIn to the YouTube live. Next week we'll each week we'll just get it a little bit more in advance now that we know what the system is going to be.
Yep.
I didn't want to over promote and then be like, this didn't work either. Steve looks like he's having a hard time coming in, but we can start the ball rolling. Steve, I don't know if you can hear me or not, but you might need to pop out and pop back in. So welcome to Business Lunatics, everybody. It's 2 o'clock Eastern. We're going to get started. Bonus content. About 8 minutes ago, you got me with a little monologue testing the software, and everything seems to be working. So we're live on YouTube and rolling. If you are watching this live, if you pop in, we have the chat open on YouTube. We will have the chat open on YouTube all the time. So you're welcome to throw a comment in there. And of course, if you're watching the replay, you still comment. We'll pay attention to that channel. We want to engage with you wherever you're watching and get, if you have questions, comments, you want to add to the discussion here on Business Lunatics, we welcome it. So how you guys doing?
Doing good,
I'm
Sean.
Yeah. So
great as well.
another week in business, and we live to tell about it.
You got that right. You got that right. Whoops.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what we're
So
doing, right?
it's interesting. In back-to-back weeks. So 2 weeks ago, we had a situation with the live stream, and I got it figured out. We were able to go live, and I did all this talk about how we keep going no matter what. And then last week, no matter what I tried, it didn't work.
Didn't work.
So we kind of all decided, like, you know what, rather than try to, force this thing, let's just postpone this week and we'll pick it up next week. And we
I
made
mean,
the positive is we
let's
decided like we're going to YouTube, and then we were able to get to YouTube, and now we're live on YouTube. So we
I
figured
was
it out.
just gonna say, I mean, listen, we spent 15 minutes trying to make technology work, and it didn't work. But it gave us the chance to talk about, listen, we can't have these types of problems happen down the road. We need consistency to drive this show. And so we all decided, okay, you know what? The best thing to do is just run it to YouTube. We can share YouTube later into LinkedIn, and so be it.
And here we are. Yeah, and YouTube is going to be fun because there's in terms of shareability and search engine optimization and all the things that we
Yeah.
can do to promote Business Lunatics. YouTube is actually in the long run a much more friendly platform for those types of things, for shows like this. And you're right, like LinkedIn doesn't like it when you send people off the platform, but if they want us to live stream there, they need to make it easier. So
Well, and the other thing is with YouTube, within 24 hours, you have a transcript of the video. Now,
yeah,
just kind of give you an idea, and this will segue into our AI topic.
yeah, of course.
You take this transcript, take it to Chat GPT, Claude, whatever, Gemini, and ask it to summarize it, turn it into a blog post.
Yep.
You post a blog post, now grab the video, stick it into the blog post, boom, you got yourself content.
Yeah, pretty fast.
Relative, it's very fast. I agree. It's you wouldn't be able to do it unless that transcription was there. Then you can actually take the content as is and turn it into something valuable.
Steve just messaged me and said his Zoom is spinning. He'll be there in a second. So, and he's our resident AI expert. But you mentioned AI, so we can get the ball rolling. I mean, I wanted to talk
Sure.
about AI, and it's just, but I think with AI, it's one of those topics that's so massive. It's very easy to get lost in AI because there's so many different kinds of it, but then there's also so many different applications of it. And there's so many different ways that we're already using it that we don't even realize it's being used. So I'm just wondering, maybe a good way to kick this off is, do either of you remember kind of a moment when you realize, you know what, maybe I should start looking into this? And if so, do you remember when that was, or how long how long ago it was that you started at least doing some research or trying it out? And it's different for all of us. I'm just curious, like how you got started with it, Steve.
Um, I mean, for me, it was 2019, when there was activity brewing around the whole. I mean, let's face it, um, AI in itself and the concept of this technology has been brewing since whatever, like 40 years ago, right? It's been growing and growing and growing. Around 2019, there was more talk about AI and using AI for different marketing tools. But as you can imagine, that was the early days.
Yeah.
But for me, it was 2019. I know
Okay. And
AI has been out since 1951, but who's counting?
that.
welcome aboard.
Yeah, some technical difficulties. My Zoom is still spinning on my desktop. So as an entrepreneur, what did I do? I adapted, I overcame, and I'm on my iPad.
And now you're live on YouTube. So we have proof in the pudding. There's four of us, four people live simultaneously.
Wow, that's awesome.
We're talking about AI and just kind of, and the reason I asked the question about when you got started with it is because I think a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs, either are avoiding it or have avoided it, or they're just kind of waiting for something else to happen. So, Rochelle, how about you? I know I know you and I work on technology a lot, and maybe it's not your favorite thing to dig into, but when did you first like encounter it or start using it or get curious about it?
I think I've used it for myself over and over again, especially when it comes to either public speaking, if I needed a title for something, if I needed like a better way to phrase something, how can I AI this to, up level it? I mean, something that can take me a longer time to write, I can put through a preliminary in AI and then see, well, now does this reflect what I'm trying to say? I just think for my own personal communication, it's been priceless. That's
Yeah.
how I've been starting to use it, especially when you're coming to like naming a program, naming a product, naming anything. I think that it's been very, very helpful. Also from content, I mean, I use it as a base and then go from there. I don't use it as a cut and paste and therefore do it exactly as is because I think that can be dangerous. I don't know how accurate things are. I think it's becoming maybe more accurate, but in the beginning it wasn't 100%. So I had a little bit of, let's tiptoe, but that's me. I tiptoe into things. Sean, you're not like that. You go diving, you go skydiving, okay? AI is not even, I mean, it's not even ready, and you're like, okay, I'm trying this new thing, Rochelle, and you never, I know you didn't hear about it yet, but so you go full speed ahead. So you're one of these early adapters. You love it. You can't. I mean, you sort of salivate when something comes on like that.
I have too many subscriptions. I am paying for so many tools. Steve, I see like I'm like my philosophy has always been I don't know which one of these or two of these is going to be the one that rises above the rest. And because I remember with social media, there was like, and going all the way back to search, it was like Yahoo, and then Yahoo dominated, but if you like got all in on Yahoo, and then I resisted using Google, like that's how I sound so old. But now I'm just like,
Yeah,
I'm just gonna buy
I
the
agree.
subscription.
You
I'm just
notice
gonna
I didn't
buy
say
it.
a word.
So, Steve, you got a whole business built around helping people with this. So I'm just curious, where did it start for you?
You know, it started before I even knew it started, actually. But I would say honestly, really 2023, towards the second, third quarter of 2023 for me. I started in my coaching career, chat was out, It wasn't a very popular, it was kind of on the dark market. And I started using it in my coaching business to start analyzing data and taking like 5 or 6 disc reports, feeding them all into ChatGPT and saying, hey, analyze this information and now tell me the anomalies. Where do you see outliers? Ask, just iterating and asking it stupid, just everyday questions. I talk to it like, hey, tell me who would get along well and who wouldn't. Why would they get along well? How should I treat this person, and tell me why? This gives you a lot of great information, but it's static. And they give you what they give you, and that's it. I can't say, hey, why does Karen and Joe, they're both, high D, high I's, dominance and, independent. Why do they get along so well? Well, because one is actually more of a precision type of a person because of their other 2 scores. So it was like, oh my God, this is like, I found heaven. I found something that is so much smarter than me that can make me look so cool. Then I started using it to write emails and all that, the usual stuff that most people use it for. But here's what I would say to you. I have learned so much, not only in my certifications, not only in my trainings. Use it as a thought partner. Let it ask you questions. Let it interview you. Jeff Woods of the AI Driven Leader. I have a book right here. I talk about that I'm here to promote Mr. Jeff Woods. I'm not. It's GEOFF Woods, the AI Driven Leader. It totally transformed how I thought about AI and what it can really do for me. Like things like a reverse prompt. I'll give you a quick little hot one that's super hot right now. Most people don't even know about. Reverse prompting is nothing more than, instead of saying act as, so for prompting, you got to give it a role, context, and an output. And I'll try not to rattle because I can go on forever. But so instead of giving it a role, telling it you're an expert copywriter, you're the smartest analyst in the world, don't tell it that. Ask it, who are the top 3 top copywriters or top fiction story writers or whatever you're looking for. Let it give you those names. Then say, great, using this information and all 3 of them, their brains collectively, write me a story based on whatever you're looking for. Now you're actually leveraging the power of the artificial intelligence instead of you using whatever's in your brain, my little pea brain, and trying to tell it what I'm trying to get out of it. Let it help me. Let it interview me, asking me one question at a time until it gets enough information to where it can give me a summary. I mean, I can go on forever.
But you make you make the right point. When you're using the AI platforms, whichever one you want, it's important that you ask it the question such as, did I provide you enough information? Or something along those lines, right? Something that's going to force it to ask you questions. And I think it's important to be able to get to that point.
You have to enable it to take charge, which is hard for a lot of people. Like me, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a control freak. But if I enable it to control me, and here's another great example. This is so cool. I just did this on Thursday. I drove down to Ocean City, Maryland for a golf tournament for 3 days. While I'm driving, I took out ChatGPT on my cell phone and I said, okay, Chat, we're going to have a brainstorming session. And I want you to ask me the toughest questions you can about what my point of view is, what really turns me on and drives me about AI. Why am I so passionate after all these years of being in technology from 1980, 79, really till now? Why am I so passionate about it? What is my POV? Dig it out of me. Ask me questions. And it interviewed me and it came up with my actual point of view, which was my words, although I couldn't think to put them out. But Chloe, I call her Chloe. Chloe kept asking me the right questions. Yes, we have a relationship. I can't lie. My wife knows it's cool.
You're not the only one, brother.
Yeah, I know. That's a whole other conversation. Syracuse Magazine just had a whole big giant article about that, ironically. But
I have not
had to come up with my point of view. Yeah, well, you should. And it actually came out with what my whole point of view on AI is AI implementation with intent. Don't just willy-nilly let your employees and your people just throw AI at a problem or just start using products without governance, without ethics, without aligning it to your core values, without making sure it matches your vision and your mission for the company.
Right.
Get some guardrails set up, some standard operating procedures. Again, I can go on forever, but really important to do it with intent is the point.
Yeah, intent is the key. And I as you were talking, I was just thinking about how once you get each time you get a little taste of how it can help you think and how it can help you process things. Um, hey, buddy, do you want to be in the show?
Definitely.
Man, this is I
Bring
love
it
it.
on.
So what
Special guest.
are you using AI these days?
Yeah.
Um, so anyway, so once you get a little taste for how you can use it, I feel like for me it opens up another question of, oh, I wonder if it can help me with this. I wonder if it'll ask me this. And
Be
so
curious. Be curious.
yeah, so I've used it. There's a couple ways that I use it most heavily, and a lot of them are what Steve just laid out. And Steve, that was awesome. The taking the framework of a prompt and then strengthening it through asking it to use the data that's available to help you ask a better question. And so true that that's like the meta, the second layer, like the derivative layer of what it can do is if we just use what's in our head to ask it questions, we're actually missing a large part of
I
its power,
agree.
is to use what's in its head to help us get a better question in our head to then ask it. And it's really incredible when you think about, I've heard, Steve, you've talked about this, that AI is not going to replace us, it's going to augment. It augments what we can do, and that's a perfect example. So I use it for just the other night. I said, "Help me understand why I'm so obsessed with statistics. Like, what is it about? Why do I get fired up about this?
Good
And why
analytics.
does this drain my energy?" And I could reflect on that. I can have a conversation with Rochelle about that, and we'll have a good conversation. But in that moment, what it helped me do is it helped me see. Then the next question I asked it was, great. Here's my calendar from today. How can I make this better for tomorrow so that I have more energy, not less, based on what you just found out? And it was like, well, you love game theory. Here's all the things within your role as chief revenue officer that apply to game theory. And here's all the things that probably suck your energy. And damn it, if that thing wasn't spot on, where I'm like, yeah, I hate that. I hate that. I hate that. I hate that. And so I was able to optimize my calendar based on inputs. So is that using it as a therapist, a companion? I don't know, business coach, all of the above.
All
But
of the above.
All
All the
above the
above. But I'll tell
above.
you
I
something
agree.
else. You could take a picture of your calendar or just take a screenshot of your calendar. I happen to prefer ChatGPT, but you could do it in Claude or in Gemini or Copilot, whatever. And you could just put it into the large language model and say, look at my calendar and give me suggestions on where I can improve my usage of my day or rearrange my
Sure.
appointment so that I can get some more downtime or focus time or whatever. The other thing is on an iPhone anyway, I would imagine an Android, when you go in to use ChatGPT, it also has a camera. So if I was to turn on my phone right now and take a picture of this video, it'll actually see people sitting there. So my phone's over there somewhere. But it'll actually see you and say, I see a screen of, a Zoom meeting and there's 4 people on
Right.
it, whatever, blah, blah, blah. It's crazy.
And you bring up an interesting point about being able to use it for speech as well. You don't have to type everything into ChatGPT.
Oh, yeah, it's all voice memo for me.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Use voice to get
I
the
most
process
of the
rolling.
time use my voice. I literally most of the time use my voice to it. Here, I got it. This is just something I got to give me
I
one
think
second.
the voice is only on the phone though, correct? It's not on the
No, I'm talking to Chloe right now. Say hi, Chloe.
but it's only on the mobile version
No,
of that.
correct.
It's not on the
No, it's not. It's on
The desktop.
regular. You can turn it on, enable it on your desktop as well.
Oh, you can. Okay.
Yes, you can. But if
Yeah, I
I was
love the voice. So yesterday, the voice feature, I had a 1 hour drive to get to an appointment. Normally, I'd be listening to a podcast or thinking. And so what I did was, because I had the car connected to my phone, I had the phone in the holder and turned on the ChatGPT voice prompts. And I was able to work out this pricing thing on an offer that I've been wrestling with. And I was like, okay, here's our cost to deliver this offer. Here's what we offered the client. Here's what they counter proposed us. I'm trying to find something that preserves a 62% margin, that delivers this, this, and this. and that keeps I gave it all of this context. The prompt must have been 6 minutes long. And,
Sure.
and she comes back. I haven't named my yet. Maybe I should, but it is a female voice. And she came back and said, okay, Sean, here's 3 options, all of which preserve a 62% margin. Option 1, you take more of the risk, the client takes less. Option 2, and it gave me 3 pricing options that I could then take back to my brain. And all of that setup work would have probably taken me at least an hour, maybe 2, to just get to option 1, because it did all the math for me and it has all my financials. So it knows our profitability.
The more you give it, the better your output you're going to get out of it is.
Blows my mind.
I mean, I've been using ChatGPT now for whatever, two plus years, right? The amount of information it has learned about me, the amount of information it has learned about my company, and in some cases, some of our clients. I mean, it's mind-boggling because it's able to refer back to work that we've done, pull it in, and it gets even better, just like you said, in terms of what this all looks like, right? I mean, it's amazing where this thing is going. And one thing I was going to mention from earlier, the origins of where we are today started with the artificial neural network, ANN, back in 1943, guys. And so this concept of being able to get to where we are today has been brewing for actually a very long time. It's not that new, but it became public, it became usable to the world at large. What, November 2022, I think, is the when we finally had ChatGPT and where we're going.
Generative AI became mainstream.
Right. Yep. Exactly.
And AI is different than generative AI. Generative AI is.
Yes. I'm with you.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely.
I'm just wondering, like, we all work with business owners. Everybody in this room works with business owners of some shape and size, right? So I'm just curious, Rochelle, I'll start with you because I want to get you and I talk about this a lot. If you had to put a percentage on it, what percentage of business owners would you say have not even begun to adopt any day-to-day AI stuff in their business? If you had to take a guess.
80%, if not more.
So most haven't, right?
Most have. I think they put their toe in the water, maybe for a personal thing. I don't think they're really effectively using it to take the place of something. They might have tried something, but they still haven't used it. That I would say they are weaving it into their corporate structure right now. They're still not using it in place of. They're not using it as, let's just say, as an executive assistant. You can say, like you say, Chloe's your best friend. She's your executive assistant. They have not taken that on at all. They haven't spent the time to have chat know them so that they would say, you know what, I'm a whatever I'm at. They haven't done anything in that regard. One of the biggest boy, did you ask the wrong person. One of the biggest problems that a lot of companies have is training. I mean, they all hate it. They hate training. So I said, you don't have to do it anymore. Just set up a GPT and let that be your trainer for the future. None of them, notice the word I used, none of them have taken the time to actually sit down and learn it and do it. I mean, not one. I'm not saying that none of them have.
Yeah, you can use HeyGen to create an avatar. So these
none of them have. None of them have. So their chat doesn't know them. They might have used it like, an occasional here and there, but it is not integrated into their company's structure at all. At all. Now, they might occasionally do it for a particular something, but it's not subsidizing anything. It's not taking. So, for example, it's not, which I think is insane. It's not creating, let's say, a sales script. You've got this new client coming on board, and the guy's, whatever, he's cheap, he's this, but instead of you getting hysterical and crazy about it, you can put this through chat and say, how would you address this conversation so that whatever they haven't done that.
Yeah.
I mean, why don't you do that? I mean, I would say like my mother-in-law is an animal. How would I, how do I get by Thanksgiving? They don't do any, they haven't done it. So did they put a toe in the water and try something? Yes. But is it integrated? No. Did they
Yeah.
take one thing and say now chat is taking over something? No.
Yeah.
And I work with
Agreed.
legal just to get backgrounds in companies. I don't want you to think it's just one type. I mean, I'm not a specialist in one lane. I've got a background in a lot of companies. Legal are really, I mean, legal is afraid that if you don't put a comma in something that they look like idiots. So legal is resistant in who knows what. They're resistant because A, it's legal, B, they're afraid that it might, take over their professions. So they're absolutely they see Chat GPT as like, the plague that's coming. So legal's not, and they have to take it on for legal, take it on for training, take it on for onboarding, take it on for something that's, operational, but legal's resisting. Then I have designer work. Designer work says they can't touch and feel a fabric. They don't know what I mean, there's definitely when we're not comfortable with challenging our comfort zone, we will come up with every
Oh yeah.
imaginable excuse. And
Right.
in the moment, the excuse is valid, but you don't get your result.
Yeah,
So what I'm
the
saying is
excuse can be true, but so what? Like the world's gonna do it. So
Sean, save me for last because I want to hold the last
I
one.
I that was my plan. That was my plan.
So what I'm saying is I don't see them integrating it yet. They'd like to, they think they'd like to, but they're not inching along. They're like crawling along. It's so that's my experience. I don't know if maybe if and again I deal with smaller businesses. I'm not dealing with like, corporate 100, corporate
Well,
500.
that's a large part of the economy though. Like small business is a massive.
Yeah, it's
Majority
80%
of
of the
the
market. It's
Yeah.
80%
So,
of the market.
Melih, what about you and your clients and the people you've seen?
Yeah, I mean, and we work with the mid to large corporations, and I will tell you that it's the same boat. As a matter of fact, they're even harder to move the needle because in an organization, even if they have 50 people or 100 people, whatever the smaller numbers that look like, they don't have the ability. They have not figured out how to integrate it into their operations, into their culture. I can tell you with clients that say that we have between 20 million and 100 million, one of the things that we've run into is that the owners are not involved in it either. And I'm right on, I agree with Rochelle on that in terms of 80% of them are not. And in some cases, they have their assistants using it. Which I don't know if that counts because the assistant usually is spread too thin, doesn't have time to really figure out how I'm going to, integrate this into my day. But yeah, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, here we are 2.5 years later when this thing has been out on the market, and it should have bigger integration or larger integration by more companies. And considering the fact that it can go fast too, right? AI agents, create a workflow, have them do all the work for you, right? Especially the mundane, routine tasks. But Rochelle said it well. Some of these people are they're not willing to change. And I think we've talked about my 4 A's of change before. But if they're not willing to change and not willing to accept the changes, and all they're doing is fretting, fussing, and fuming for no reason. It's an
Yelling at the
emotional
cloud.
risk. It's an emotional response when the logic says this is the way you need to go.
Get off my lawn. Get off my lawn, kid. Get out.
Like Rochelle said, lawyers, for example, theoretically, if I was a lawyer, man, I would be all over this. It would help speed things
Yeah.
up
Yeah.
and figure out
uh,
precedent and figure out cases and, you know, throw the book at it. Just like
research.
don't hold back.
Yeah.
I've used ChatGPT to take an agreement between us and another company and ask it to give me the pros, the cons, and the recommendations.
All
In
day.
like, for example, is the agreement leaning heavily in one partner's direction versus another? Right.
Right.
Let's figure that out. What do we need to do to balance it, especially if it's a mutual non-disclosure agreement or a mutual, partnership agreement? Let's figure out how to balance it out. Give me the pros, the cons, and your recommendations, and then work through it.
Yeah,
For everyday regular stuff,
I mean,
it works.
we use it. I mean, we're an HR company, and so I'm obsessed with this because I'm already assuming that we're out of business if I don't have not only an AI strategy, but if I don't make us basically a company that where AI is a central part of how we serve our clients and how we operate. And so I've gotten really good on the operational stuff, and there's always more
Hmm.
to do. And now I'm rolling it out piece by piece with client delivery because our clients are sitting on calls with our HR people, with our HR professionals with 30 years experience with ChatGPT open, fact checking us in real time. Now, even though ChatGPT is not 100% accurate up to date, in fact, I catch it with mistakes all the time. I'm sure we all do. But it doesn't matter. What matters is that our clients, who are primarily tech companies also, are giving it the legitimacy. And so if I show up as a consultant and I'm like, no, we don't really use that. You need the human touch, they're going to be like, cool, see ya. So now they're still using us. So what we've learned to do with it is, and what our philosophy is around it is we're embracing that our clients are embracing it. But by us showing that we are also embracing it as a business, even if in the short term it costs me some revenue because they don't need this extra service that maybe an AI has replaced, the credibility rises because they see that we're a forward-thinking
Yeah.
company that is like adopting change quickly, and it's creating longer-term revenue and stickier clients. So that's my approach, is like, even if I don't have it all figured out, if I'm demonstrating to the marketplace that we're like
I
just
agree.
doing this
Yeah.
podcast is a perfect example of that. All of us,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So,
You know
all right,
what? I
Steve, go
totally
ahead, go ahead, Rochelle. Sorry, Rochelle
if
first, then
you're
Steve's gonna.
not if you're not at least demonstrating that you're doing something with AI,
Something. Yeah.
I don't care. It does, and even if you're doing it wrong, it doesn't matter because we're all exploring it right now.
I
You're
agree.
just introducing yourself like the Flintstones and not the Jetsons.
Totally.
So
Excuse me, my name is Wilma Flintstone. I'm
Ah,
prehistoric. I am not up to trend. I'm going to resist every imaginable forward-thinking opportunity, and I'm out of date. That's
Amen.
exactly what you're saying. You're not introducing yourself that way verbally, but just by your actions, you're telling somebody you're out of, you're not current.
Yep.
You're,
so
I
you know,
try to me is because we're current, not that we're prehistoric.
Yes.
Michelle, let me answer his initial question first. I think the percentage of actual true adoption is closer to 2 to 5% amongst all companies of
Yeah.
actually using it. Whether they're utilizing it properly or not is another story.
right.
But I'd say it's closer to 2 to 5%. And I know for a fact, not only from my own findings and from my own research, that a lot of the CEOs and executives, they're just like deer in the headlights. Like, how do I do this? I don't know where to start. I mean, you got the big corporations have multi installations of the same software they're paying for in 6 different departments, and it's costing them a fortune. To all the way down to the small guy who's like, I don't know, do this. So I'll ask you to make a recipe for tonight. I'll take a picture with Chad of my refrigerator, and it can go in there and tell me what I can make that's under 600 calories. Great. But the reality is that not enough people are using it with proper governance and ethics and guardrails. And they haven't said, wait, stop, drop, and roll. I'm a big believer in that AI, you should be curious. You can't break it. Ask it questions, beat it up, let it interview you, whatever, but do it in a safe, controlled environment. A lot of people don't even know that ChatGPT, the regular $20 a month plan, you can go in and turn off sharing with the large language model. It's right in settings, guys. This isn't rocket science. But what you should have is a Teams account or higher, and you should have your data siloed so that you're not sharing it with the world. Because here's what's going on, and here's the reality: everybody in your company is doing what they want, and they're not being governed by you, the CEO or president or entrepreneur of the company, and that means they are potentially leaking your data out to the world. They are giving the
You
world
know what
your
this
information.
reminds me of? This reminds me of when social media first came into reality, and companies were afraid that you're not allowed to tweet about, what's going on in-house. And a lot of companies put guardrails on
Hmm?
what you can and cannot share about our, about what's going on here.
That should happen here as well. It's no
Same
different.
thing, but we're
It's not
so
more
early
important.
on in the process that they haven't caught up to it yet. It's
No,
going to take a
and I
while to
always,
integrate it.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer that the tsunami, like people always ask me all the time, because I'm a chief AI officer, when is the tsunami coming? And I'm like, honestly, 2027. We don't have enough adoption yet, and that's going to accelerate or grow at an accelerated rate because that's the way technology is going. And right now, today, AI, as we use it, generative AI, as we see it and use it, is the worst it's ever going to be. Because tomorrow they're going to have a new one and a better one.
But you
I
know what? Just
personally
think
have
of
a
how
stat.
it's improved over the year. In
Yes.
1 year, look at how it's
Yes.
unrecognizable in 1 year,
However,
let alone 3.
However, thank God, I'm going to thank God for the chief AI officer community who has helped me. I have a good alumni that I hang out with, that we get trainings 5 days a week. And I know what tools are really good for what. So I'll use HeyGen for video stuff. I'll use 11 Labs for voice or podcast. Or if I want to take one of my blogs and turn it into a podcast with 16 different voices, I can have 16 different people read that podcast. But knowing the right tools to use, I think, is key. But none of that happens unless the owner of the organization goes, wait a minute, what do we need? Oh, I don't need to do voices. Well, why would I worry about 11 Labs or HeyGen or Synthesia or any of the other ones out there? You know
what? I don't think I don't think 99% of companies know what AI can do. They hear a lot, but they don't have specifics.
I think any of us really knows what it can do. I mean, the actual true extent, they have a lot less of a clue of the benefits, like a simple, leveraging it as a thought partner instead of asking it a question,
Right.
having it interview you. That alone is like a phenomenal mind shift. When you do that, reading the label from within inside the box is pretty cool when you think
Now,
about it.
here's my question.
I was
How many companies are willing, top CEOs are willing to take the time to get educated on this so that they can learn how to implement? I don't think too many.
no,
And most
not many.
won't, and most shouldn't. They should hire, or they should find a champion within their organization, someone that's technically inclined and that gets it and knows their business. That should really be the champion, or quite honestly, work with the chief AI officer to be their fractional champion.
Someone's got to own it, and it has to be. You have to have a strategy.
Yeah.
And even if that strategy starts with just cracking the door open, I think we've all been around a while, and so I love thinking back to all the different times just in my life where there's been, for lack of a better term, game-changing technologies that have changed not only how we do business, but how we live. And even predating me, there was more. We go all the way back: radio, television, horse and buggy to the car, all of that type of stuff. Is anybody here when the car was invented? Is anybody that old?
No. Well, I don't
No,
think so.
but I used to watch black and white TV.
Okay, so
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I know, like, another part of AI, like, we have a client right now. This is the other part this is a rabbit hole we're not going to go down today, but I'm just going to throw this out here because I think it's super relevant. We have a client that is it's a biotech company, and what they're doing with AI to test medications on human-like tissue, and how the AI is analyzing the actual data real time, and how those medications are interacting with human tissue without having to test on a single human being, and how quickly the AI learns from what it found to not only recommend adjustments, but to make those adjustments in real time in terms of dosage, concentration. And then I go, okay, I bring that up because I'm thinking, well, no, maybe we weren't alive when the car was invented, but with these kinds of biotech tools, maybe maybe at some point we're gonna, 140, 150 is not going to be out of the question.
Look at
Rochelle,
surgeries they have now.
Yeah. Go ahead,
Yes,
Melih.
I mean, what Rochelle said earlier, right? I mean, look at how much this thing has changed just in the last year. As a matter of fact, what you just mentioned, Sean, is an outgrowth of some of another subset of AI that's been growing and developing, and so on and so forth. And going back to something that Steve was mentioning earlier too, how do you get adoption? And the other day I was on a show. I was a presenter, and my suggestion was this for CEOs in particular, because this is the one item that they will be interested in. Okay, number one, go to ChatGPT and say, please provide me suggestions for, and then put in your product or your service. So in my case, for example, please provide me suggestions for marketing agency suggestions. And all of a sudden it comes back and gave me 5 or 10 recommendations. Well, guess what? Our company was not in that 5 or 10. Well, the ones that it presented were large, national and regional or even global ad agencies or marketing agencies, right? I said, well, all right, let's go to the next level. What does my company need to do to get recognized by you and be part of the suggestions that you make? And then it goes through and tells you, here are all the things that you're
That's
going to
pretty
need to
neat.
do. It was very cool.
What were some of
And
the things? Just a couple of them.
okay, so number one is it wants schema coding in your website. Okay, so you
Schema
need
coding.
schema. And just so you guys know, schema goes back to 2007. Yahoo, Microsoft, and Google brought this up as a
Okay.
means to identify what the data is within your web page. Okay,
Wow.
and so if you have a zip code there, you need to say this is a zip code. It's not just a
Ah,
plain number. Okay, so
okay.
schema is about putting that in. But the schema code that, and honestly, maybe I haven't looked at it in 3 years. I was kind of surprised. The schema code that it's providing now has additional features, including what your services are
Mm.
that you can throw into your website's code, and GEO or generative AI is going to be able to pick that up. That was one example. The second
Wow.
example, it wants notable references, which is not too different from Wikipedia.
Mm.
So notable references, press releases, right? Your content marketing, getting your name out there. In my case, I do a lot of speaking engagements, right? So my content is out there.
Was this done
But
in
those
chat?
were
Was this done in chat or Claude or one of those?
this was done in Chat GPT that I just
Try it in
mentioned.
Perplexity. Just for that.
Sure, I agree. Listen, believe
I'd
me,
love to
I
hear
think
the difference.
I would like to try the same thing in Claude too. But going back to my point, though, is my suggestion is this might be one way of getting a CEO engaged, to see that their company, the company they're leading, is not in the recommendations, is bound to get somebody fired up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but to be fair, Millie, the ChatGPT is not really a search engine. However, it has search capabilities. It'll even
Yes.
cite sources where it got it from, like Perplexity. But Google is really a search engine. Perplexity is truly a search engine. So I would expect your result when you use Perplexity will be higher. I'd love to hear the result.
Interesting.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. But just so you know, by the time I got through that whole process, I don't want to say my last question, but a question towards the end that I asked is, well, under what circumstances would you recommend our agency? And it came back and it said, I would recommend you for B2B marketing. Okay, or B2B marketing agency or something along those lines. And Steve, just real quickly, it did give me sources, just so you know, in the recommendations it provided, and then I was able to get the URLs, check them all out. The other thing that I found interesting is not too long ago, I went to Google to do some research. I have no idea why I did that, but I found myself going to web pages in the top 10. I'm like, why am I doing this? And the websites that I found were not what I was looking for. And it took me a lot of time to go back and forth between these websites.
Because it's
Whereas
about
when I
the
went to,
money. Who's paying the most money is who
yeah,
Google puts up
and
there.
then so the reality, yeah, well, that's another issue. But then I went to Chat GPT and I get its recommendations, and I go to those pages, and they're more relevant than what I got out of Google, which is why Google's also chasing down Gemini now, right? So that's a whole nother story.
Yeah. Gemini is
But
top.
I do think this exercise would be very interesting for a
Yeah,
lot of
I'm definitely
CEOs.
I'm gonna run it on ours for sure. So
Yeah.
this was absolute fire, guys. As the kids would say. They would say it's fire. This is fire.
Just be curious. Don't be scared. You can't break it.
Yeah, well, we're about to move to takeaways. So, Steve, is that yours? Be curious, like in terms of like nuggets from today's conversation.
My actual nugget not just from today, because I truly believe it is AI with intent. Intentionally, dude, you wouldn't get in your car and just say, "Oh, I'm going to go somewhere," and just start driving. You actually have intent to go somewhere. You have a purpose. You have a reason. So, I tell people, really think about their AI adoption intently.
Have it, yeah, intention, yeah, versus random, just
Versus random acts of, I'm going to go hide my head in the sand over here. Whatever you people do, those are making money. I'm happy.
not my problem. Not my problem.
Yeah, at some point it's going to bite you. You know where.
Yeah. Rochelle, how about you for today? Takeaway nugget, something you're going
I
to put
just
into
think
action.
we have to use it, even if it's the most tiniest way, even if we're not using it correctly, because at least it shows people that we're current, we're trying, we're not putting our head in the sand, and then we're forward thinkers. So my thought is embrace it and just, inch along with it. Just take it a tiny step at a time.
Yep.
Melih?
And I'm leaning in that direction too. What I was going to say was more about accept the AI change. Okay, there's nothing. You're not going to get anywhere by holding yourself back, allowing your emotions to hold yourself back. You're better off moving forward. That's the reality.
Yeah, I mean, it's the genie's not going back in the bottle.
Oh no.
It is not even, and that's been the case with all of these technologies. I mean, Gary Vee talks about this a lot, where he talks about how we as humans have the audacity to think that our opinion matters in terms of what the world has already decided. Yes, there are ethical concerns, yes, all of that, but my takeaway is your opinion.
I feel like this is the super.
What's happening right now?
Right in your moment.
Random acts of AI. I can't help it.
I'm like, I quit drugs a long time ago. What is going on? Damn. No, this idea that like the way that I wish things were doesn't matter. It's like what is, and how can I adopt what is in a healthy and positive way. Mm-hmm. And so I think we're all kind of in agreement on it. I think that's why this podcast is so fun, because we are all people that try things and are willing to experiment, and it's been really, really cool. So I'm sure we have a lot more we could do on AI, but I think this is a really good starter talk, and I'm glad that we
use it every day. Every day.
Steve, if there's any resources you have or you want us to put in the comments or anything, like for your company or I don't know what you have out there, but I know you in terms of the tools and things like that, if there's anything that we can promote of yours that would help a business.
I actually do have a big number of tools. I can give a comprehensive guide on using chat, Claude, and
awesome.
Gemini, and some
shoot those over to me, and we'll get them in the YouTube, and we'll get them in the LinkedIn as well. And then anybody that goes for all of us. Anytime there's a resource or something that is relevant to the conversation we had, I think let's throw it in the comments, and people can grab it. Right.
I agree.
All right, gang. So we're live on.
I was going to say one last little thing, a little baby plug. June 2nd, my new AI website goes live, so there'll be a lot more good stuff down the pike. So it'll have AI assessments on it. Ways to figure out where you are in your journey, all kinds of good information.
Yeah, we'll definitely maybe.
Well, let's touch on that in 2 weeks.
When we do the show in a couple of weeks, maybe we bring it up on screen and give a quick tour. That'd be awesome.
Thank you.
Cool. So we're now officially YouTube people. So we'll be back here on YouTube Live next week, and with each week we'll add more layers of promotion now that we know how the engine's going to work. So thank you to those who've been with us since the beginning and have hung in there. I do get messages from people. I'm sure some of you do as well. That people are watching. We had a few hundred impressions on each one of the shows so far. So someone's watching. So thank you, and we'll catch you back here next week on Business Lunatics.
Good job, Sean.
All right, thanks everybody. See you later.
Talk to you later. Bye-bye.